Alright, this right here is a concrete mixer. And the way you can kind of identify it is it's a little bit, it's set up different than one of these, which is a mortar. These are basically, the paddles are mounted on the outside walls of them, and on a mortar, the paddles are in the center of it. Uh, Generally, these are going to have a rounder barrel on them, so you can kind of identify the two between each other. I'll go ahead and start out on service with you on these. Basically, I'm going to start out what I usually start out with, and that's checking the fuel. Make sure you're at least at the 3/4 mark. That's where we fill them to. These things have vented caps, and that's the reason why we put 3/4 in the tank, because otherwise they'll splash out in transit. After checking the fuel, I generally check oil. There's your two main ingredients in preserving the engine life, and you just want the oil to run to the edge of the lip on the oil fills point. Next, I move over here to the air filter. And when you're checking these air filters, they're very important to check a few things in them. If you can see, there's rust up here, which can tell you that water does get inside of these housings. But the thing that keeps that water out of the carburetor is the rubber seat underneath this metal plate here. You want to kind of inspect that and make sure that's good. If it's not, then we need to replace it. Next, we're going to go ahead and check the outer filter and inner. Basically, just pull this outer jacket off without tearing it. If you notice any tears in the outer filter, it's probably best to go ahead and change it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a visual inspection. We're going to tap it. Then we're going to look and make sure we can see sunlight through it. Once you've done that, next thing you want to do is make sure this rubber ring's down here at the base of this. This is all something that helps seal this thing in to keep dust and water out of the carburetor system. Make sure that gets formed all the way around. If the outer jacket, if it's stretched and it's not forming into this, then we probably need to replace it as well. Next, we're going to go down here and check the carburetor or the pull cord assembly. Go ahead and pull it all the way out. Look for any kind of tears. Once you've inspected it and it's good, go ahead and bring it back in. After that, generally I'm going to go in and I'm going to check the tire pressure on these. They're generally about 50 psi per tire. If it's low, add some. If it's too high, take some out. Once we've identified that we have 50 psi in the tires, then we're going to go ahead and move on to the next step, which would be greasing. I'll show you where all the grease points are out on this. On this one, you're going to need a flex tube grease gun. Looks like this, got a flexible neck on it, because there's a few grease fittings inside the machine. This one right here has a couple grease fittings. They're kind of hidden, and you got to have a flex tube to get to them. I'm going to grease this on the front. We're going to move over here on the side. We have another one right here as well. This one's hiding from me today. There it is, tucked up in here behind the housing. And grease that. Next, we're going to go to the one on the top. This is a really important one. This is for the barrel rotation. Grease the seat all the way through. That's good. We come back here to the back. I have another one over here kind of tucked on the side. These ones in the back are the ones I was talking about that are kind of hidden. They're just right back here on the back side of this block. Sometimes I have to peek my head in here to find them. Now if that's greased, I'm gonna move over here. Last of all, we test for operation, make sure our belts are good. Visual inspection. Inspecting, see if they're good. There we go. Now we're gonna run it. We've got 2 on-off switches on this one. You've got a safety kill on the outside and a master on-off switch on the inside. What we're gonna do now, let's go ahead and crank it up. And that's your basic service on a concrete mixer. On another note, on any of these trailer-driven units, you want to make sure you check your hitches and make sure they're intact. Make sure your hitch works. Make sure it's able to lock down and unlock. And make sure your safety chains are here and they have hooks on it. This one generally has 1 chain on it. So that's basically it on the concrete mixer.